I've been asked before, as a practicing coach and someone who follows spirituality, what's the difference when it comes to dating when you identify as spiritual? And spirituality can entail so much and mean so many different things. In all of my videos, I will state my opinion and my experiences only. I will not claim to speak for everyone when coming to identify certain terms. So when asked this question, it made me think about my dating experiences and what rules do I have in my dating life. And today I have identified 7 rules for conscious dating that I have put into place and live by. Maybe they could help make your dating life easier as well, as it did for me. The first principle that I have identified for myself is that monogamy is the better working system when it comes to spiritual development. And in my opinion, monogamy is the best system for spiritual growth and for soul expansion for several reasons. And the first reason being that it pushes us to create a deep connection with one person and master communication, acceptance, love, unconditionality with that person. We build a beautiful partnership that helps us grow as a person. When we introduce more factors, as in polygamy or polyamorous relationships, into the equation, then things can become a little bit complicated. We have to manage communication, transparency, honesty with all the parties involved. And oftentimes, it can mean hurt feelings. Because everyone is inherently so different, and people come into polyamorous relationships for different reasons. Sometimes I believe that some people truly feel like that's the best working model for them. But in many cases, I have seen that people go into polyamory because they're so afraid of deep intimacy, of actually opening up to someone and being vulnerable. So having multiple partners and multiple options helps them diversify the risk of vulnerability and keeps them busy all the time. So they are not alone, so they don't feel neglected, abandoned. They're always engaged in some way. Monogamy, meanwhile, means that we're committing to one person and committing to growing with that person and accepting them in their wholesomeness, in their multitude of their personality. And this often means that we have to know ourselves and our needs really well and be open to communicating our needs, our desires, our vulnerabilities to our partner extremely well. And expect that, the same thing from our partner as well. And monogamy also means that we don't choose the easy way. We don't choose to exit when things are not going right. We don't choose to find an additional partner who would make things easier and balance things out and distract us from the troubles we have in our primary relationship. Monogamy would mean that we would find the ways to fix the flaws, fix the issues we have in the relationship right now. And through fixing that, through all that work, we grow as a person with our partner. This doesn't mean that choosing the right partner is not important, but assume that you have a good partner. It doesn't mean that you won't have to put in the work. It means that you will still have to learn a lot of things and navigate a lot of things along with this person. The second reason why monogamy might be better for spiritual development is that it can give you more focus. We're not distracted by the excitement of constantly pursuing multiple relationships. We fix in our relationship life with this person. We commit, so we have the time to develop through our social networks, through our careers, through our new explorations. It also trains us in discipline because we're not going into a relationship to seek excitement. We're not asking the other person to provide for our needs, for excitement, for fun and joy and play. Well, that could be the case with your partner as well. We go into the relationship with a mindset of giving, of loving, of building a sincere, trusting relationship. My principle number 2 in dating stems from the first principle. This comes from the idea of respect and transparency, which is really important in spirituality. We respect all beings, we accept everyone, we strive for unconditionality in our loving, and we understand that everyone is essentially one, so we should treat other people the way we want to be treated ourselves. And this principle might be controversial to some coaches, gurus, etc., but this is just my opinion. This principle states that there's no multiple dates at the same time, no dating multiple people at the same time. And some people might say, Dung, but there's so many options, there's so much fish in the sea, and you should weigh all the options before finding the right person. Also seen an article where it states that you need to go on at least 37 dates or date 37 people before finding the next best match and settling for them. Spirituality is not about statistics. Spirituality is about believing that everything that happens in your life right now is a vibrational match to the path you're on right now in your spiritual growth, on your path of broadening your perspective and understanding different standpoints. We live in a culture of FOMO, the fear of missing out on the abundance of opportunities and choices and people, and it applies to dating as well. Dating has never been easier in this age of social media and dating apps. Everyone is basically a click or a DM away. But if this model was so effective, then we wouldn't have so many unhappy, single, heartbroken people in the world. And it would make it easier to find the one, not harder. But in reality, we see that the more options people have, the harder it becomes for them to settle down, the more confused they seem to be. And this is not just because they have so many options, it actually depends on a variety of different factors as well. But it only proves the point that having so many options and dating so many people at the same time doesn't make one happier and more fulfilled in their relationship and dating life. And this is the reason why I think hookup culture and the don't ask, don't tell mentality is actually quite toxic for someone who is looking to build a long-term relationship. Because when we approach dating in this way, it's actually a path of disconnection. And from a spiritual standpoint, this can be quite non-self-aware as well, because it means that you're not valuing the other person. You're just using them for them to entertain you, for their body, for their assets, for anything. Because you're not truly committing to them and you're not interested in them as a person, but only as a function, because they serve a certain function in your life at that moment when you come to them. And while they have expired in that function, they're not fun anymore, or they show some sign of wanting to commit, or they want to get to know you better, you flee because you're so afraid of deep emotions. You're so afraid of connection. And this could be because you're avoidant, you're afraid of opening up, you're afraid of not being accepted for who you truly are, you're afraid of being figured out, you're afraid that you will have to communicate and argue and get into conflicts and have difficult conversations, which are present in relationships. So it's easier to flee and hop on to the next person who's just a click away. I find that dating multiple people, a model that can be really hurtful to others. It can be really disrespectful in some regards because you're withholding some information, because you're just treating them as a function. Of course, we can argue that you can be transparent and talk to everyone that you're dating multiple people, and you can tell them how you're dating other people, whether it be coffee dates or actual hookups. Let's be honest, not many people would actually go through so much trouble to be transparent because they would be afraid to be judged that they are doing this, and they're afraid that someone will throw water in their face because they'll actually understand that this is a disrespectful behavior. So to make life easier and to be respectful of everyone's feelings, because we're all one, I find that dating one person at a time might be the better working model. The principle number 3 is be authentic. The internet is flooded with the ideas of the art of seduction, of how we need to be more appealing to our partners or potential dates. But the art of seduction is totally different from the art of building long-term successful relationships. It's because to seduce someone, we need to understand their psyche. We need to understand what is it that they want, and oftentimes understand their subconscious desires, what they're not voicing. And then what we need to do is to put on a facade, put on masks to appeal to their subconscious desires and wishes so that they fall for us. But the art of building happy, fulfilling relationships often relies on being authentic, being our true selves, because we need to have that ease, that comfort in a long-term relationship. And we can only do so when we are able to express our authentic self and be vulnerable when it comes to dating. So while you can use certain techniques to seduce people, those techniques will not help you build an authentic relationship where you are loved for your true self without any masks. In the art of seduction, we have to play cool, to be nonchalant, to wear different masks, to play hot and cold. But would you attract someone who will love you for who you truly are, being someone you're not? The answer is probably no. And we've seen this dynamic propagated for so long. In cliques, in high school, you have to be a certain way. You have to fit a certain mold, a certain box to appeal to other people, to get along. And I get it. We're so afraid of being rejected because as a kid, being rejected means you don't have access to love, to affection, to resources. And it is extremely scary on an instinctive level. But if we want to build a long-term, happy relationship as an adult, we don't have any choice but be authentic so that the person can see who they are entering the relationship with. And we should have courage to be rejected by people who don't think that our true self is enough, is appealing for them. Yes, it might trigger our wounds and the wounds of an inner child of being abandoned and rejected, but we should have enough courage to understand that we don't need to be appealing to everyone. We just need to attract that one person with whom we can build a successful, happy relationship, our close match with whom we can grow and expand together. Being addicted to the art of seduction or putting on a facade or playing cool can only help us attract surface level things that are not a true match to who we are at the core. My opinion is be authentic. Don't be afraid to show your expectations, your values, everything you are, all at once. Because for the right person, you wouldn't be too much, you wouldn't be too difficult, etc. You need to find the person with whom you can build a strong foundation with. And no better way to do that than being your true self from the beginning. Principle number 4, know your boundaries and non-negotiables. While it's important to be vulnerable and open and authentic, we shouldn't be pushovers when it comes to dating. Know your boundaries, know the things you cannot compromise on, even when you have strong feelings for someone. I've seen in many relationships where people try to forsake their values, their non-negotiables, when the feelings get too overwhelming and too strong. And they say that, oh, I just love them so much, I will give up everything so that I can be with them. But that is a pattern of unhealed inner child and of self-neglect. People who act that way probably have not healed their self-worth and self-love issues. And in that case, it would make more sense to focus on building your self-worth and self-love and tending to your inner child wounds before stepping into any kind of intimate relationships, because you know that you have the pattern of self-abandonment. And with that pattern, you will not find the right person. You will be the chaser instead of someone who can build an equal relationship, an equal partnership. With low self-worth, we get more excited about someone when they reject us, when they abandon us, when they are avoidant in their nature or emotionally unavailable. It makes us feel like a guilty child trying to prove something to their parent. And while changes of personality are normal and expectable in a relationship, changing your core values, changing your expectations and boundaries are something different. If changing for someone would mean that you're becoming smaller, lesser, a version of yourself that you wouldn't be proud of, then that's not the right choice and that's not the right relationship dynamic. And you should probably learn to improve in self-love and self-worth, self-esteem, and also learn to communicate your expectations and boundaries. Sometimes it's not that the other person is bad. Sometimes it's us that don't know how to communicate our needs. So I usually give people 2 chances. It means that the first time someone crosses my boundaries, I will try to explain to them very clearly and very succinctly in all the terms that I can know that they might understand how they have crossed my boundary and why they shouldn't do it again. And I'll do this twice. And if after 2 times they are still trying to cross my boundaries, they're still violating my non-negotiables, then I will understand that this relationship will not be able to go further and I will not be able to move along with this person. I'm not afraid of making this decision to cut someone off because I have enough self-worth, self-love, and courage and discipline to know that I am willing to wait for the right person. I'm not afraid of being alone. I'm not afraid of not dating. And I can wait as long as it takes to meet the right person instead of just neglecting myself and accepting crumbs for behavior. Rule number 5, the principle number 5, is self-awareness. Dating is a self-development practice. It's a practice where we continuously grow and expand as a human being. So dating can bring us a lot of self-awareness and help us see deeper into our own traumas, into the shadows of us that we have not addressed or healed. One of the best practices that I've made in my dating life to be more self-aware was a dating spreadsheet. In this exercise, I basically made an Excel table of everyone I've ever dated, and I wrote down all of their qualities, good and bad, things I liked and disliked, and I circle out the patterns, the traits that repeated in every person that I attracted into my life. And I noticed that these traits are the traits that I have been subjected to in my childhood with my caretakers. And I've seen that this pattern, that the feelings that the people brought me, the feelings of betrayal, the feelings of being not reliable, the feelings of neglect, are actually the feelings that I have experienced as a child. So now, if I want to date better, I can only use that data to go and heal myself before attempting to date more and more. Because in spirituality, we believe that the outer world is a vibrational match to what we're feeling inside. So in the areas where we're just stuck in our trauma, we can only attract people who reflect those traumas back to us. Because we are used to feeling disappointed, betrayed, etc., we can only attract people who disappoint and betray us. Because subconsciously, we have this desire to go into the same situation so we're able to fix it as an adult. So for example, you have had a passive parent in your childhood who you wish stood up for you and protected you, but they didn't. When you grow up and become an adult, you're likely to attract partners who are passive, but you would do everything in your power to try to change them, make them proactive, and protect you so that they can step up and protect you. And that way, you're closing the gap, you're closing the cognitive dissonance you have in your head of that wound, of that unhealed trauma. So instead of doing that, going through all that hurt and dragging people along with you, it's best to be self-aware of these traumas and take the time to heal them. I actually believe that you can only date well when you're not afraid of being alone, when you're not afraid of facing yourself, facing your shadows. This brings me to rule number 6, the principle number 6. Date yourself before you date other people. Be comfortable with being alone. Don't be afraid of solitude. Don't be afraid of facing your shadows. Don't be afraid of tending to your inner child and giving yourself everything that you want first. Because this way, you're practicing self-love. You're setting an example of how other people should love you. Because to be honest, if you treat yourself badly, how can other people know to treat you better? We watch so many movies, so much content that says that, oh, there's a beautiful savior who's coming to save you and taking you out of your bad life. But actually, that savior has to be you first. No one is coming to you. No one is noticing you unless you notice yourself first and put your needs first. The best thing we can do for ourselves when it comes to dating is to stop self-neglect, stop self-abandonment, work on our self-worth and self-love, and give ourselves all the best things that you wish other people would give you. Then a lot of people ask me this question: when we have closed all of our needs, when we have given us all the best, why would we need a partner? Why would we need someone else in that situation? And this actually reflects the codependent consumerist mindset when it comes to dating. We approach dating as give and take. You give me this, I give you that. You give me fun times, I give you attention, etc. But in spirituality, this is not the case. In spirituality, we see everyone as one. And we go into dating with an appreciation of who the person is. We admire them, we respect them. Rule number 7 in dating would be unconditional love and acceptance. We wouldn't go into dating to fulfill our codependent consumerist needs. We wouldn't go into it to take from someone. We would go into it with a curious mind, with a free spirit that looks to explore life, to expand and grow alongside this person. We're not using the person to baby us, to fulfill our traumas, to heal our wounds. They're not our savior, our parent, etc. While they actually might want to take on those roles, but we're not asking that from them. We're not demanding that from them. We're not going into this relationship because we're hungry, deprived. Think about it. When you're starving and you go into buffet, you'll eat everything that fills you up. You'll be not very picky. So to have a quality meal, to have a fulfilling, right partner, we have to be filled up first. We cannot go into it empty, starving, and deprived of love and self-worth. Go into dating because you are already loved. You have so much of it that you want to radiate it, and you're ready to share it and grow it and expand it with another person. I hope that this video was helpful. Please comment below what you think about these 7 principles, where you agree and disagree, and what principles you have when it comes to dating.